If this I or me has no self, anatta, where does karma reside? What is reborn? That's a good question. If this aggregate, the five aggregates, if this five aggregates, you know what the five aggregates are? If this body, me has no self, where does karma reside? Where does the karma reside in? What is reborn? So in other words, if there is no I, no self, so whatever I've done create karma. So what is this karma hiding? What is this karma? What is this karma? I have no self anyway, so if there's no karma, how can I get reborn? How can I carry the karma into the next life? Which is logical, a question that should be addressed. Let's tackle the questions in a little bit detail. What is this five aggregates? This called me, I. What call me? This me, we call it the body. We say have no self. What is this body make up of? This self make up of? This self is made up of two parts, right? The mentality part and the physical part. The mental part, we have a brain, right? The mental part, we think. We have mano, or think, and then we have the physical part. The mental part and the physical part. The physical part is easier to identify it. The flesh, the bone, the blood, the liquid, the eyes, the nose, the ears, all the physical part, the internal organ, that's easier to identify, that's the physical part. The mental part, what's the mental part? The mental part is usually, we classify it into three parts, for example, the mental. The one is we call mano. The other is called manas. And the third is alayas. These are all Pali words or Sanskrit words. Then I put it in simple English. This mental part contains the thinking part, which we call the mano. The emotional part, we call it the chitta. And the third is the memory part, the storage part. Okay? So memory part. Just to put it very simply, if you think about a computer, all these keyboards, all this hardware are outside, the monitor, the drive and everything, these are the physical part. And assuming that what is the internal part, the program, the software. The internal part is the software, the programming of it, right? And then in the programming, that is the right program and the virus, for example, the good and the bad. So you also contain the good rational programming and the unrational part. The virus or clashes or like that. And there's also the chip, the memory part. The memory doesn't really care. Rational programming, viruses, they just accept it. Would your computer say viruses come in? I refuse it unless you have a program to prevent viruses from happening, but you design to protect one virus, you cannot protect the other virus. That's the reason why you're always in a constant change, constant updating of your virus software, right? This is just an analogy. I'm using just the computer as an analogy. The computer has a physical part, rational part, unrational part, and a memory part. The physical part is easy to identify. The memory part, our body. We have the thinking, the mano, the chitta, the emotional, and the storage part. And we say when when we have a self, when we die, where is our physical part? When we die. So our body dies out. The eyes, the ears, the nose, all the body cells dies out, right? And then, how about the brain? The brain dies out too. There was no more brain. And whatever you have done, from a day-to-day basis, all the good things, the wholesome things, unwholesome things, and all that, were being performed by the rational thinking part and the emotional part. They're always at tug of war. We talk about mentality in 3 parts, and let's just take 2 parts to analyze first. Leaving the storage part, who is more or less neutral, they just take in whatever they want. The thinking part, the more rational part, is always at a tug of war with the emotional part. We always have a rational thinking part. For example, you see fire, you won't put your finger into it because you know that fire will burn you out. And you see some danger, you won't approach the danger. You know there is sunlight, you learn everything. The thinking part is when since birth you have been learning names, identification of names and all that. And you know that you have to eat. When you're hungry, you have to eat. And what is good for you, what is not bad for you, that's the thinking part. The emotional part is all your selfishness, your greediness, your hatred, your depression, your greediness, all these mental afflictions were the emotional part. And whenever this thinking part performing, at the same time the emotional part is always working at each other, at the tug of war. That's the reason why, okay, you drive out and you're driving and somebody's yelling at you, do you know how to drive? You're not honking, you don't drive it the right way. Then you start to have an argument. You get angry, how come you're not respecting me? Always the emotional part in every action, every thought, everything, they're always at a tug of war. If you have a little wisdom, you know how to control your emotional part by raising your rational brain, your rational thinking into a higher level to make yourself at that tug of war in control. But let me tell you, all the other philosophers thinking the same way, even the Buddha said in the same way, our emotional parts are always in control of the rational part. You always get mad, you always get angry, you have depression, you have hatred. When you have depression, nothing can change your depression. People will say, oh, you're suffering from depression. Let me tell you, throw away your depression. Detach it. Don't think about it. You think it's that easy? The depression has dominated it. You think that depression is just a thought that you can just throw it away? No matter how you talk about it, I still feel depressed. I can just throw it away. Because my rational thinking has been dominated by my depression. And it takes training. To train, you have to let go. That's where the Buddhist teaching can come in, the meditation. Train yourself not to attach to the emotional part of the mind. How to let go of your depression, your fear, your hatred, your anxiety. How to let go of that. You think it's easy to let go? Extremely difficult. Because our emotional mind is always in control of the rational mind. But all these 2 minds are always working to create what? Karma. Good karma, bad karma. And once that karma, good or bad, is created, what happens? It gets stored into the storage mental part of the brain. It gets stored. Just like all these things that got stored in the chips in the memory. You can't get it away. All in the memory. And when a person dies, all the senses are gone. Even the rational brain is gone. The rational brain creates all this karmic energy. The rational brain is gone. But you think whatever you have done is gone? No. It can all store into the memory. The emotional part of the brain, when a person dies, would shrink into the storage part. Would recede it into the memory, or the alaya consciousness, we call it. So there's the mano consciousness, which is the rational thinking, the manas consciousness, which is the ego emotional thinking. The rational brain dies, the emotion all shrink into the storage memory. All the karmic energy that you have been created when you were alive would all get stored. Nothing would go away. Storage not of the action only, of the speech, of every thought. So this every thought counts. So always breathe good thoughts, wholesome thoughts, compassionate thoughts, kindness thoughts, diligence thought. Learn to build up good thoughts, because when the thought comes up, it gets stored. The thought may carry into action, and some may not. If it carries into action, the karma gets stronger, because the action has been created. So if I have a thought to harm, to fight, I haven't carried out the action, but that thought registered. If I carry that harming, fighting thought into action, I will hurt others. The karmic energy is stronger, and it also gets stored. So in other words, the self is gone, because the body is gone, your emotional mind is gone, your rational mind is gone, but it all gets stored into the memory. Nothing gets gone, all gets stored in there. And this eighth consciousness, we call it alliance consciousness, is the storage of everything you have done, everything you have spoken, everything you have thought about. And it is what? It is invisible. It is imperceptible. You cannot see it. It's energy. It's karmic energy. How can you see energy? Energy cannot be seen by the eyes. Energy cannot be smelled by the nose. Energy cannot be tasted by your tongue. Energy is just energy that is not perceptible to you, to your senses, but it's stored. Can you see the actual process of the storing in the computer? It just performs itself. It gets stored in there. So all these things die, yourself, your body, everything die. But that bundle, huge, immeasurable bundle, chips of energy is still there. You can't see it. And when the person dies, that energy left the body. That energy, to some people, would leave the body immediately on death. Some would stay for a few days, wandering about, and we call it the bottle stage of your existence. And some people call it the spirit, the ghost. It's not a ghost, it's just the stage that in between reincarnation, that energy is there. And you're wandering about around your body, you look at your family, your family can talk to you. They cannot perceive you. But you can see it, you can feel them, but they can't see you. Some people consider it as suffering. I wanted to talk to my mom and dad, but now I'm dead. I still have unfinished business. I still have all these jewelries in my jewelry boxes that I haven't given them the key to open it. Oh, I have these things undone, that thing undone. They're still wandering about in the family. They're not willing to go. And some people will say, I'm dead already, I gotta go. And some people linger on, but they would not linger for more than 49 days. Because the karmic energy in these 49 days, within the 49 days, are waiting for another opportunity and another causal relationship to be born in there. Some people get born in this family, that woman, you don't know, but they are related. So they will be born, roll into another body in the embryo, and then get reborn again. And where does the karma reside? Reside in the liar consciousness, that karmic energy. What is reborn? The alaya consciousness is reborn. That energy. We call it, we don't have a good name for it. The Buddha called it alaya vijnana. And vijnana is what? Is some sort of a very difficult to translate. Some sort of an energy that is immeasurable, that roll from one body to another body. And that energy is still in the dream of existence. When that energy becomes enlightened, that energy no more exists. It's gone into another state when there's no such thing as energy. What is that state? That state has to be described by using words, because if the Buddha didn't use any words, there's no way we can comprehend it. And he just called it nirvana. He called it many, many names. Samya Sambuddhi, Anuttara Samya Sambuddhi, just for the sake of letting us know there's such a thing. But there's no such thing as words. Words comes from the diluted mind. But if you don't call it, what do you call it? You call it a state of bliss, a state of nirvana. So where does the karma reside? The karma would not go away. Would be reside in that and in alaya vijnana, which is the alaya consciousness. And that alaya consciousness, with that invisible karma, will be reborn from body to body, from life to life, from reincarnations to reincarnations, in a samsara stage. So in other words, at a juncture of death, if you say, I hated this person, I hated him. If your some hatred is so strong, you may be reborn in that family as someone who hated his dad, wind up killing his own dad. His hatred is so much. But if he's at the juncture of death, he has a lot of compassion. I want to be a compassionate doctor in the next life. With what I have learned now chemically, it could be a chemist or biologist. With all I have learned, I want to get into my next life to be a good, wholesome, helpful, beneficial, humane doctor to save the whole world, to save patients who are suffering. With so much strength in his alaya consciousness, he may have become a Dr. Norman Bethune, or Albert Schweitzer. It depends on what kind of energy you build up, especially at the juncture of death, or your wish. And if you say, I want to be reborn in a land where there's no suffering, I want to be reborn in Amitabha's land, pure land, and that's the only way I will go, then at the juncture of death, you may be able to be reborn in that land of bliss, Sukhavati Vyoha, the land of Amitabha's blissful paradise. The last question, if I have an objective in life that might bring happiness to others, but since there is impermanence and in the end it may not happen, or it doesn't bring happiness to anyone in the world, in the end, should I still pursue it? How to deal with that and maintain the energy? Everything is impermanence, yes, but it does not mean that everything is impermanence, I don't want to do anything, because it's impermanent anyway. I don't have to learn to enlighten myself, because impermanence only apply to phenomena. But this world, the existence of this world is not just in terms of phenomena. There's also the noumena. If we can borrow the word from a very famous German philosopher, and his Immanuel Kant, K-A-N-T, he introduced two words. One is phenomena. Phenomena is what we can see, what we can feel, what we can hear, what we can touch, sounds, all that phenomena. Another is noumena. Noumena is what? You can't see it, you can feel it, you can touch it. All this phenomena is for sure impermanent. But your act of compassion is something that stays in the noumena. Your act of compassion is something that would change the phenomena to be better. Phenomena is impermanent, but that compassion that phenomena, that essence, would be justified in bringing yourself to a higher wisdom. So you can say, everything has to die anyway, so it does not matter. I can do anything I want because everything dies already. Finally, it's not true. Only the phenomena is impermanent, and that phenomena that we cannot see, we cannot feel, we cannot touch, will be greatly enhanced by your compassion, by your enlightenment, by your help to others. That would bring out the bodhi in you. And also, one more about the impermanence. It says that impermanence in the end, it may not happen or it doesn't bring happiness to anyone. The form would change, changeability on the phenomena, but that act of compassion can be carried forward forever into the next life, then one after next, and next after next. When we practice compassion, it is so close to the truth that compassion will elevate you to a higher level of Anuttara Samya Sambuddhi. So in other words, not performing that act of compassion or the act that would bring happiness, by not performing that, you would not be closer to the real truth. You would not be closer to Samya Sambuddhi. The more compassionate you are, the closer you are to the truth. Because when you are more compassionate, that means you're eliminating yourself. For example, in the compassion, one of the compassion acts is giving. When you're giving out, you're not enhancing only yourself. You are extending your narrow self to a bigger self. You think that the whole group is the self, not just yourself. The strength comes from not attaching to a self. In a team, in a teamwork, in an Olympic Games, if everybody is about enhancing himself, the game is not going to win. In a soccer game, it's not just about one person. If everybody is just working for himself, the team will not do well. But if everybody is sharing that bigger self, the compassion renders to the whole team, that team will be more successful. It's just one example of trying to extend your narrow, one-sided self to a general, broad, universal self. The power comes from that bigger and bigger and bigger self. And even that bigger self, finally, you have to let go. Even Buddhism has to be let go. You don't need that compassion anymore. It's not that you don't want it, because if you attach to compassion, you cannot be fully detached. So you have to transcend even Buddhism to be at that stage. But without this compassion, you cannot go to that stage of Anuttara Samya Sambuddhi. It's the process of compassion is the process of letting go. It's the process of losing it. Losing yourself, losing your egoistic feeling, losing your hatred, losing your selfishness. Compassion is losing all these, not attaching, losing, giving out, donating, giving out. And by giving out and giving out, all of a sudden you find, the self is all gone. That self is not there anymore. Then you're elevating by the boat of compassion. But the map of compassion, you walk out from that forest. But the map of karuna, by the map of matter, by the map of gratification, many, many ways. You walk out, you don't need that map anymore. It's not that map is no good. That is exactly a valuable map of compassion that helps you to get out from the forest. But don't attach to that map anymore. You don't need it anymore when you walk up in the forest. You can use it as something to create some memory for yourself in the future. Oh, I have this map of compassion. Something to think about.